The city trembled beneath the weight of glass and steel. A tower stood above all, its windows like mirrors to the clouds, its rooftop kissed by wind. And there, alone, stood a man. Silent. Rich. Watching. But beneath his expensive shoes, his mind wandered back to a different place, a dirt path in a forgotten village, cracked feet, and a mother's tired eyes. The world only saw his empire. But deep in the silence of his penthouse, echoes of a boy's cry in the clay still haunted him. What he had built came from blood. But what he lost along the way, that was buried deeper. In Umudim, rain fell like morning songs. The houses coughed under rusted zinc and mud bricks, and inside one of them, a baby boy cried. His name was Kenechukwu. The sixth child. The last hope. His mother sat on the floor, her wrapper soaked, no milk in her breast. The wind whistled through the cracks in the wall, as though mocking them. Outside, chickens fought over cassava peels. Inside, dreams died quietly. But not this child. He kicked, he wailed, he thrashed, as though rejecting the poverty that held him. His father, Ho. By 5, Kenechukwu had learned silence. He followed his mother to the market, balancing trays of akara on his head, eyes wide like he was trying to absorb the whole world. His sandals were too big, hand-me-downs from a cousin who had died. In school, he sat at the back, scribbling with half pencils, his nose buried in borrowed books. At dusk, he hawked bread, racing between buses. Some laughed. Some insulted him. But when he got home, he studied. With a candle, if it stayed lit. With his breath, if it flickered. The world had no mercy. But he had hunger. When Kene was 16, his father died. One morning, he didn't get up. The man who built houses with his hands now left behind only an unpaid hospital bill and a framed picture from 1989. The funeral was quiet. No cows, no canopy, no long speeches. Kene didn't cry. He just stared at the ceiling that night and listened to the silence where his father's cough used to echo. His mother's sight was fading fast. His elder brothers had left for cities and never returned. The home shrunk in spirit. Kene, the last child, now carried the entire house on invisible shoulders. The day WAC results came, Kenechukwu ran 3 villages on foot just to check his scores. He came back with a smile that didn't match his environment. All as pure brilliance. The pastor praised him. Teachers celebrated him. But the next day, reality sat heavy on their doorstep. No money. No admission. No plan. University was a door he had unlocked, but couldn't enter. He packed his bag quietly one morning and hugged his mother, whose eyes now only saw shadows. She gave him 700 Nigerian nairas, and the address of an uncle in Lagos. She didn't cry. She just said, survive. Lagos hit Kenechukwu like a slap. The noise, the rush, the smells, it was a different universe. His uncle's place was already crowded, so Kene slept on the corridor beside the drainage. He became a bus conductor, calling routes like war chants, Odulegba. Yoba Street. The money was little. The work was brutal. Passengers insulted him. Drivers slapped him. Police extorted him. But at night, he sat by the roadside and watched people in clean shirts walking into buildings with bright lights. He told himself, I don't belong here forever. But the city didn't care what he believed. It swallowed dreams whole. There were days Kene survived on bread crust and sachet water. He kept his WAC result wrapped in a plastic bag under his thin mattress. Every time he almost gave up, he would take it out and stare. Proof that his mind still mattered. He worked harder, learned to dodge police raids, learned to run fast and lie better. But every lie felt like a piece of his soul chipping away. Sometimes he saw boys his age in cars with tinted windows. And he wondered, what do they have that I don't? But he knew the answer. They had everything. He had will. One day, Kene walked past a cybercafé and saw a white screen with moving text. Something clicked inside him. He began saving 100 Nigerian nairas per day just to rent an hour of internet. He didn't know what he was searching for, just that it was bigger than bus parks. He learned to type, watched YouTube tutorials, discovered code, copy-pasted lessons onto a stolen notepad, borrowed time, borrowed knowledge. Sometimes he didn't eat for a day just to afford 1 hour. The cafe owner started noticing him, this silent boy who never played games, only typed, clicked, and stared like he was seeing his future pixel by pixel. At 20, Kene got a small job fixing phones at Computer Village. He didn't know much. But he lied that he did. He stayed late, watching others, teaching himself how circuits worked. He ate only once a day. Slept inside a metal kiosk with exposed wires and cockroaches. He used a dead laptop screen as a pillow. When it rained, water trickled under the shutter. When it thundered, he hugged himself tight and whispered silent prayers, not for blessings, but for strength. He wasn't living. He was surviving. But inside him, a dream was fermenting like wine in darkness, silent, strong, and wild. By 22, Kene had tried building 3 different apps using borrowed laptops. One crashed on launch. Another was stolen by a friend. The third didn't work at all. His hope began to rust. One night, after being robbed of his savings and slapped by a customer, he stood on Third Mainland Bridge and stared at the black water. The wind whispered lies. Jump. But something stronger whispered back. Try again. He turned, walked back, and wrote a line of code in a torn notebook with an empty biro. That line became a sentence. The sentence became a spark. The spark refused to die. 11. The broken phone that changed everything. One evening, a frustrated woman stormed into the kiosk with a cracked iPhone. Kene fixed it in 10 minutes, faster than anyone else in the market. She was impressed, but more than that, curious. She worked at a logistics startup and gave him a used laptop as a thank you. That laptop became Kene's universe. He wiped the hard drive clean and made it his classroom. For the first time, he had more than stolen minutes, he had hours. He built things nobody saw, wrote code no one understood, and started dreaming of solving problems bigger than broken screens and poor neighborhoods. Kenechukwu's nights were lit by kerosene lamps and the glow of his borrowed screen. His fingers moved with purpose, typing lines of code while cockroaches scurried in the dark. The air smelled of wire dust and frustration. Every night brought new errors, bugs that mocked his effort, logic loops that laughed at his hunger. But he pushed on, learning APIs, user interfaces, and digital marketing from free blogs. His friends went to clubs. He went to GitHub. When power failed, he wrote code by hand in exercise books. In the noise of Lagos, he built silence, and in that silence, resilience was born. At 24, Kene built his first real app, one that helped small shops track inventory with voice commands. It was clunky, slow, and barely functional. But it worked. He wore his only clean shirt and walked into 10 shops pitching it. 9 rejected him. 1 laughed. But one woman used it for a week and saw a change. She told 2 friends. They told others. It spread like a whisper. Kene was still poor, still invisible. But now, people were whispering his name. His app didn't go viral. It went useful. And sometimes, usefulness is the real seed that outgrows rejection. Kene walked into a small tech networking event wearing borrowed trousers and shoes 2 sizes too big. He stood in the corner, shy and silent, holding a printed pitch deck wrapped in nylon to keep it dry. Nobody noticed him. Until he asked a question so sharp that the room turned. One investor called him afterward. Small talk turned into deep interest. A week later, Kene got a micro-investment of 200,000 Nigerian nairas. It wasn't much, but it was the first time someone believed in him with money. He bought data, redesigned the app, and slept even less. Hope had officially reported for duty. At 27, Kene created AgriLink, a mobile platform that connected rural farmers with urban markets. The inspiration came from his mother, who still sold cassava under the sun. This app gave farmers fair pricing, transport logistics, and storage solutions through agents. It was clunky at first, full of bugs. But he tested it on real users, people like his mother. Feedback flooded in. He improved it. Then, magic happened. A small radio station did a segment on it. Downloads doubled. NGOs took notice. Kene didn't make much money, but he made impact. For the first time, he wasn't just surviving. He was shaping lives. By 30, Kenechukwu had been in and out of 7 pitch rooms. Each one felt like standing naked before strangers. Some smiled. Some yawned. Some offered deals that smelled like slavery in suits. But he learned. He negotiated. He walked away when it didn't feel right. Eventually, a local venture capital firm backed him with $50,000. He cried that night, not because of the money, but because it meant someone finally saw the fire behind his quiet. He rented a tiny office in Yoba and hired 3 friends who knew code and hunger. They built features. He built culture. Quietly. Strategically. Relentlessly. Kene launched 2 more platforms, SwiftCart for local logistics, and PayBridge for small business payments. Both were simple, but powerful. They addressed real pain. Real need. His user base exploded across Nigeria. Awards followed. Grants came. At 35, a Ghanaian tech magazine called him West Africa's quiet giant. But he didn't celebrate. He stayed invisible, focused, quiet. He still wore slippers at home, still saved receipts, still worked with the caution of someone who had seen too much luck. His buildings grew. His staff multiplied. But he refused to be loud. Kene knew empires fall when they grow louder than their purpose. At 38, Kene returned to Umudim, not as a boy, but as a man who owned towers. His old house had collapsed. He rebuilt it. Then he built a library in his father's name. And a free ICT center for village children. His mother was gone. Blindness took her eyes. Diabetes took her breath. But he built a statue of her holding a tray of bread and placed it at the library's entrance. He walked the same dusty paths barefoot. The villagers cheered. But Kene just stared at the clay ground where his dreams first bled. No media. No press. Just peace. By 39, Kenechukwu's name was printed in silver letters on a tower in Victoria Island. Inside were hundreds of employees, partnerships across continents, and innovations beyond his early dreams. But his office remained simple. 1 wooden desk. 1 picture of his mother. And a cracked WAC result pinned to the wall. He refused vanity. Even in success, he held the weight of his old sandals. He funded scholarships, rebuilt schools, and kept his companies ethical because he remembered the pain of rejection. Of closed doors. Of hunger without pity. His success wasn't a celebration. It was a responsibility, and he carried it well. When Forbes Africa interviewed him, they asked, "What made you push through all those years?" He smiled faintly. Then said something strange. "I didn't think I was special. I just believed pain wasn't the final version of my story." He walked them to the rooftop of his tower and pointed to the sky. Then pointed down. "From clay to clouds," he said. "Same feat. Just a different fight." They asked again, "Was there a moment you wanted to give up?" His eyes drifted. "Thousands." Then he whispered, "But hunger is louder than fear. And belief never sleeps."